Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I'm a fifth year student at UCLA studying political science and Middle East North African studies. My name is Omar Elkabti.
Okay, so what's your reaction to what's going on in Libya right now?
Alhamdulillah, we have been blessed in these last few days with the downfall of the Gaddafi regime, one of the most brutal regimes on earth right now. Just as we've seen in the images on CNN and other media outlets, people are ecstatic, they're excited. And although you do hear rhetoric about freedom, inshallah freedom is on its way, and it has not been fully captured yet. However, it's on its way, bi'idhnillah, and this is a step in the right direction.
Okay, so as a Libyan, how were you affected by all these things that were going on?
So my father actually came here for political asylum. He came to the United States for political asylum because he initially came here to study his master's. He did his master's in Connecticut. And then when he finished and he was ready to go back, he heard about crackdowns on normal citizenry. If anyone had any objections to Gaddafi's regime, they were assassinated, they were killed. And so my father realized the threat on his life, and he asked for asylum, and he was granted it. And so he's been here since. And now, for the first time in 30 years, he's able to visit. And he went back to Benghazi. He's actually in Benghazi right now.
Oh, awesome.
And another story as far as extended family is concerned. A couple of my uncles were actually imprisoned, and they shed some light on the prison experience. One was imprisoned for approximately 7 years, and the other was imprisoned for 15 years. So they broke it down in this fashion. They said that Gaddafi has like tryouts, basically. He brings you in for 2 years and puts you in prison if he feels that you are a thinker. If you are a free thinker, you are a threat to his regime. If you are semi-religious, you attend the masjid, then you are also a threat. And so he grouped people, threw them into prison, and the prison guards would take note of who are the leaders of the discussions in the prison cells. So for 2 years, they would study, almost like guinea pigs. They'd study who are the learned and who are the learners. And based off of that, they would break them up so as to isolate the intellectuals from the rest of the commoners, so that they do not influence the rest of the prisoners. And so one of my uncles was an intellectual. He's the one who spent 15 years. And when he was initially imprisoned, he was imprisoned because he had all sorts of books, philosophy and faith, religion, about Islamic studies, all sorts of democracy, all sorts of political types of governance. And so he was imprisoned for that. And subhanAllah, his wife was pregnant when he went to prison. So he came out and he saw his 15-year-old son for the first time. And my other uncle was, I believe, engaged, and then he had to break it off because he was imprisoned for 7 years. And so the impact, and there are far worse stories. I had a cousin who was killed in '84, I believe, one of the most popular killings. He was hanged in the public square. And there's actually, it's a very famous video, popular footage. You could find it on YouTube. So it varied. You had torture, all sorts of torture, to murder and assassination.
So you mentioned that your father, he went back to Libya for the first time after many, many years.
Yeah.
So what was his reaction? What did he tell you about it?
My father's reaction was jubilation. I mean, he went back and saw his sisters and brothers for the first time, like we said, in 30 years. And what he had been doing prior to that was meeting them in Europe or meeting them at Hajj, meeting them at a midpoint. And so now, when he went there, he was just ecstatic, obviously coming in with gifts and open arms to quite frankly, some family members that he had never met, his nephews and nieces. But he immediately began humanitarian work while he was there, and he started flying around trying to collect funds to get the Ramadan program going for Benghazi. So we can already see that there's a different outlook on matters, and people are excited to do work. They're cleaning up the streets, working on keeping the cities aesthetically pleasing after the remnants of war damaging the buildings and the whatnot.
Do you plan on going?
Yes, definitely, inshallah. As soon as I can, I'd love to visit and spend time there, inshallah.
And as a Muslim student here at UCLA, what has this meant for you? All of these things that have been going on and what your family has gone through and all the stories I'm sure you've heard growing up.
Yeah, definitely. Alhamdulillah, this is a beautiful reminder for the whole ummah, in that if you do persevere, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will grant you victory in the end. And I'm not saying that everything is done. There's still a lot of work to be done in rebuilding Libya and ensuring that foreign entities are not reaping all the natural resources. But with that being said, it is important to take this one as a victory. And we've seen in Tunisia and Egypt, initially it seemed like a victory, and then they ran into some difficulties and they had to continue protesting. And in this case, alhamdulillah, we could say that inshallah the Gaddafi regime is gone, and he used to repress the deen. He used to repress people who wanted to become very spiritual and improve their tarbiyah. And so this is something that we should be thankful for in the United States, that we have an open haven, an open space to do that. Alhamdulillah.